Hey everyone, Michelle Markey with Medina Domestic Art Studio here to talk again about my KDP results for the month of January. Now I know today is January 31st, but I feel like everything is pretty much written in stone. I might get one or two extra orders before the day is out, but I find that immaterial to the grand scheme of things. So real quick, I did release two books during the month of January, a coloring book and an activity book. Now the coloring book got one sale. The activity book, however, has picked up. It was slow to begin with, but by the end of the month, I've been having consistent sales almost every day, 1 to 2 sales. Just to quote you real quick, you're going to see this up here on the screen here in a minute. I had a total of 103 book sales over 16 titles. Total royalties from the books were $299.70. However, my ad spend was $406.76 with a net loss of approximately $107. Now, I'm not necessarily upset about this, and let me go through the reasons why I actually ended up with a loss, and it'll make a little bit more sense to you. I tried to start an international ad, meaning I tried to do an ad for several different international markets. I'll be frank with you, I didn't really kind of research it closely enough, and within a couple of days, I'd already spent $50 and I was getting absolutely no sales. So I went ahead and canceled the ad. I will try to educate myself better on the international market, but I really think that it was a loss of money that perhaps I didn't need to spend, but it's a lesson learned that I really need to educate myself first before I tackle an ad like that. Secondly, I ran an automatic ad that Amazon goes out and researches the keywords for you for all of my coloring books. And I anticipated that this was going to create a loss for me. I was really trying to use this as an educational process to learn exactly what might attract people to my coloring books by the keywords that they were searching on. And let's see, it cost me $72 and I only ended up with 5 sales. However, I did get additional keywords that I wasn't using in one of my other ads, so I'll be adding those keywords to my overall coloring book ads to see if that increases sales for the upcoming months. Several of my ad bids were simply too high. This is one thing I think I'm really going to focus on working on for the next several months, in that I kind of got carried away and really wanted to try to push my books as hard as I could. So I felt like I had to be aggressive with my bids. And in hindsight, I feel like that all I did was spend a lot of money for very little results. So that's going to be a big focus in February, is to tighten up those bid numbers and try to get them down and see if that makes a difference overall in the resulting sales. Finally, again, the results were not bad, but they weren't great. Ads brought in 67 book sales versus my total of 103. So I need to reverse that ratio. I want to see more organic sales over the number of sales that are brought in by ads. So that's, again, I'm going to tighten up my ad spending as well as increase my social media networking. Now, I will be on the road in the next few weeks to various different quilt shows and teaching classes. For me, this is the best way for me to get the word out about my books. I like to work with one-on-one contact with people. I'll have copies of my books. I ordered authors' copies of every single one of my books. I will have them in my quilt booth, and everybody will be able to buy them directly. This has actually proved to be the best way for me to get the word out. And the second way are my newsletters. Now, I send out a newsletter every single month, at least one, sometimes 2 or 3, depending on what kind of releases I have with new fabric painting kits. And every time I do, I mention my books, and I mention that they are on Amazon. And I almost immediately see sales increase after I have sent out my newsletter. So this is one of the things that I want to stress is something that you need to consider as far as being able to reach out organically to get additional sales on Amazon. And finally, my goals for February. As I said, I'm going to increase my sales through my direct contacts. And my shows are the best way. Again, I put them in the booth. They're out there for display. And that prompts people to then go find me again on Amazon to see what else I've put out there. I am really going to tighten up on my ad spend. I've really been way too high on my bids, and I really need to come down with them. I am planning on creating a new activity book. That is my best sellers, are my activity books. They far and away blow away any of the coloring book sales. So I do want to continue focusing on that. I have several different new themes that are going to be carried forward in my quilting activity books, and I think my client base is looking forward to that. Also, I am probably going to release in the next 2 months my first fabric painting how-to book. This is really what I've been leading up to, is getting experience with Amazon and KDP by publishing what I consider to be low or somewhat easy books in order that I can familiarize myself with the whole Amazon KDP process. So, by the way, I appreciate everyone turning in to watch these results. I did have a fair number of subscribers, so thank you very much. It does kind of help me to stay on top of things and keep track of things, knowing that there are actually people out there who just might end up holding me accountable. So that's it in a nutshell. Just a quick word of advice. If you're watching this, watch your Amazon ads like a hawk. Make sure to look at them every day and adjust the numbers accordingly if you think you're spending too much relative to the number of sales. And last but not least, don't hesitate to send out newsletters. They really are a great way to reach people and to let them know about what you have available for offer. Well, that's it so far for January. As always, thanks for tuning in, and I'll get back with some additional tips and tricks later on in the month.